சொல்லடி சிவசக்தி என்னை சுடர்மிகு அறிவுடன் படைத்து விட்டாய்.
You have given me a lot of intelligence to preach among others, but haven't given me the ability to charm others to listen to me and my preachers. A poet who thought that 150 years ago is the topic for the day. We're going to discuss Bharathiyar, one of Tamil's greatest poets. Press the bell icon on YouTube and never miss another update. The day we made this video was his birth anniversary, which is 11th December, and the year the great poet was born is 1882, well, way before independence. What did he want to portray, and why did people on a large scale listen to him? In fact, the people who heard him properly was converted into a true patriot, and the people who had listened to it in the British Parliament were way against them. Let's listen to his story. Bharathiyar was born in a Brahmin family as Subramania Bharati. Even though a lot of casteism was portrayed and prevalent during that time, Bharathiyar was one person who stood against it, even though he came from an orthodox Brahmin family and he was way ahead of his time. And what we preach today about female empowerment and gender equality was spoken about way before independence too. Even though he came from a small village near Thoothukudi in Tamil Nadu, he was so ahead of his time and so intelligent that at a very small age, Subramania Bharati was called by the king in the kingdom he stayed and gave him the title Bharathiyar. But what does Bharathiyar mean? Bharathiyar means that he is the gift of God, or in today's term is a child prodigy. After this incident, he gets the name Subramania Bharati or Bharathiyar. Even though he was famous and intelligent since birth, he had a very tough life. He first lost his mother, then he lost his father, and then at a very young age he got involved in a child marriage. Do you know he was the first batch student in the Central Hindu College in Varanasi and he studied in Tirunelveli. He was very well educated, and the only thing he learned which touched his heart was, which is narrated in his own words, is
எவ்வளவோ கொடுத்த இந்த சிவசக்தி, அதாவது தமிழனுக்கு எவ்வளவோ கொடுத்த இந்த சிவசக்தி பகுத்தறிவு மட்டும் கொடுக்காம போயிட்டாங்களே அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க.
Which means not only a Tamilian but the whole India is going through the same turmoil even now, which is we forget the value of our own heritage. We listen to the society and live our lives. In respect to casteism, low caste, upper caste, in respect to the status of life or lifestyle, rich and the poor, and a lot more. We speak about it even now, but then a person speaking out the same thing 150 years ago was a big deal. If you have observed, a South Indian Brahmin would never wear a turban, but he wearing a turban has a whole story behind it, which is when he used to study in the Hindu college at Allahabad, he had a Sikh friend who he was very impressed with. He observed Sikhs and was very impressed by their patriotism and the way they carry the pride of India. Looking at them wearing a turban, he bought the same culture and wore the turban too. And then he removed his punal or the sacred thread worn by Brahmins and gave it away as it was a mark of casteism. Today, as we can see, there are people who speak about casteism and a lot of other things which they actually don't follow even in their house. But Bharathiyar was not like that. He was taking even the lowest caste to his house and used to give him food or any other materialistic things. In the olden times, people used to see castes and creed and status and used to make friends or even get married. But Bharathiyar was not like that. He even asked a question on the same, which is, a Hindu can become a Christian and a Christian can become a Muslim, but why can't a Shudra become a Brahmin or a Brahmin become a Vaishya? Why not? One day when he was returning from Allahabad, the college he used to study in, he met Nivedita, one of Swami Vivekananda's famous sister, a disciple. She had a discussion with Bharathiyar on the basis of female empowerment and how women were getting into trouble even in the smallest matters. Listening to the words of Sister Nivedita, a foreigner, he considered her as his idol and became her disciple and came back home and gave the utmost respect to his wife too. In fact, when he used to walk in the road, he used to be so friendly with his wife, which was considered very shameful way back 150 years ago and was considered rebellious. He wanted to spread his idle thoughts to the world and hence became a co-editor in one of India's oldest newspapers, Sudesamitran. His thoughts and processes were so well versed that the Britishers wanted to come and arrest him. Can you believe it? He was a person who knew to read and write 32 Indian languages. Another shocking incident was after Rabindranath Tagore had won the Nobel Prize and had come down to Madurai. Bharathiyar asked his friend to go and meet Rabindranath Tagore and say that Bharathiyar has invited you to a competition at the Victoria Hall where Bharathiyar and Rabindranath Tagore would be seated and the Nobel Prize would be the bet. Let Rabindranath Tagore give his poems in Bengali and I would give my poems in Tamil. Let's see who wins and gets applauded more. That person would get the Nobel Prize. Listening to this, his friends said, Bengali is a very well-known language. That's why they gave the prize to Bengali. Why would someone give it to Tamil? Looking at this, Bharathiyar said that Bengali was recently founded and Tamil is a very old language which existed crores of years ago. If Bengali gets the award, Tamil also should get the award. If the award is not given to Tamil, it's a shame to the Nobel Prize itself. Well, that's about his life. The man who brought British India to its knees with his pen, Subramania Bharathiyar. The story of a great Indian freedom fighter who was born 132 years back this week. The pen was mightier than the sword is the fittest proverb for this Indian freedom fighter. His speech and poems were making even the parliamentarians in the House of Commons to panic. His passionate speech and words brought many youngsters in British India out of their comfort zone and to fight for freedom. But what did he write? What did he do? How was he a freedom fighter? Bharathiyar was quoted as Mahakavi, great poet, by his followers. Many got inspired by him into writing Tamil poems in literature. The most famous among them is Tamil poet Bharat Dasan, which translates to follower of Bharathiyar. Bhartiya's father wanted to start a cotton spinning mill in Tuticorin under the permission of the king. He got permission from the British under the king and started a shareholding company just like V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. His dreams got shattered when the British played with a piece of falsified news that the ship carrying the machinery for the factory got sunk on the way to India. This sinking of ships caused substantial psychological stress on his father and he was bedridden and hence he passed away. This kindled his inner feelings for freedom and through his words, which were way ahead of time, he was also a strong supporter of violence if needed. He attended meetings organized by V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. People used to gather in his session to hear his passionate speech and his attacks on the British. He participated at the Surat Congress conference where he met Bal Gangadhar Tilak. During all this, V.O. Chidambaram Pillai and Subramania Shiva were arrested by the police. Many of Bharatiya's well-wishers asked him to escape to Pondicherry. The French ruled Pondicherry and it was a haven for many British India freedom fighters. French and the British had a treaty not to interfere in each other's issues, so a British India convict can evade an arrest if he enters Pondicherry. Bhartiyar with his family left for Pondicherry. Pondicherry was a bit hostile to Indian freedom fighters during the time as the French and British became friends leading to World War I where they were allies. Bhartiyar started to work in a newspaper published from Pondicherry and distributed across Tamil Nadu, which carried the seeds of freedom and sometimes violence. His death was also deteriorating during this period and his earnings too. During his stay in Pondicherry, he met many of the extremists who were taking up weapons to bring down British rule in India. One of those crucial people was Savarkar, who was one of the accused in the Collector Ashe murder case. Bhartiyar wanted to learn a sword fight, but his health was not in a good shape to accommodate it. He also coined the famous phrase Rautyam Palagu in Pondicherry. His sickness further worsened and he decided to move out of Pondicherry to British occupied India. But as soon as he entered the British occupied India's borders, he was arrested in Kadalur. After much protest, he was released but was asked not to move out of Kadanallur, his wife's hometown. During his stay, he further devoted more time to the upliftment of people from oppressed communities. He invited some for having lunch at his home and even converted many to the higher community. People from his community heavily criticized his acts. After a few years, he moved to Chennai and continued to work in a magazine and wrote against the British. His health saw no signs of recovery and slipped into more distress. One day, while feeding temple elephants of Triplicane temple, the elephant pushed him away. He fell on the ground and sustained head injury. His weak health status and head injury combined made him bedridden and he passed away peacefully. Legend says that there were more houseflies than humans to attend his funeral. A man who got no recognition during his period is presently praised as one of the greatest poets ever to live.
If you haven't pressed the bell icon, press it now, and we would love to know your feedback in the comment section below. Till then, love.